with Dalvin. Interesting.
Oh, Dalvin's out.
He's out now.
Oh, okay. Damn. I don't know him anywhere, so I guess it's fine. Okay, I think we're live.
Nice.
Oh, we have a comment in the chat. It's hard to type without my right thumb. Shout out Jacob, who caught off his thumb last night.
Oh no, he had I think a soccer game or something that
Yeah, he was cooking, and I guess he cut off the tip. He has to set his lineups a little earlier because his game thumb has an injury. All right, well, we got a lot to get to today. Sunday Mass, welcome in if you're listening. We're going to be doing lineup questions, some injury news. Dane, did you want to touch on the injury updates before we get into some lineup Q&A?
Sure, yeah. So the biggest one breaking moments before we went live just now, Dalvin Cook is now listed as out for the Minnesota Vikings. So hopefully you have Alexander Madison on your roster. If you do, easy start. If not, man, you're pivoting at the last second. There was, questionable tag on him all week. Things seemed positive going into Sunday, and now he's out. That's definitely a blow to your roster. Hopefully you have a contingency plan there.
Madison or Chuba Hubbard?
I would go Madison personally. Chuba Hubbard has, he's been on the field, but he doesn't look very dominant. And Alexander Madison, I think, has more of a history in the league of being sufficient when Dalvin goes down. So I would definitely go Madison.
Yeah, I think the offensive game plan stays pretty similar when Madison is there. Like they still want to work through the run game, whereas when CMC is out, Chuba is just kind of an accessory to the offense, and they lean more on DJ Moore in the passing attack. Plus, they're playing the Lions. I mean, the Eagles don't have a great defense, but Vikings versus Lions should allow Madison to run all over them. Except, I don't know, but this is kind of interesting. Cook out. Does that mean you'd be interested in taking Lions money line? I think it's like plus 400 or something like that.
Oh man, for an upset against the Vikings, honestly, those are good odds. I would put maybe no more than $10 on it though. Like that's a good ratio. 10 to win 40. That'd be nice. Any more than that, I think it's very, very risky. I don't trust the Lions to win a game.
Yeah. All right. So I've got a friend. She's in a 16-team league. And she's got a few lineup questions. She needs a win this week. Here are her sort of lineup conundrums. Does she start Justin Herbert or Trey Lance? I said Herbert. You got to go with the safe start here. He's delivered for you every start. Although there is the idea that if you want true upside, you would go with Lance and try and get some absurd rushing stats. But I still think, it'll be a rookie-friendly game plan, and they're not going to have him making like some absurd throws over the middle of the field or anything like that. It's going to be a lot of the run game, and while he'll be part of that, so will Elijah Mitchell and so will Trey Sermon. So I went with Herbert over Lance there.
Yeah, I would lean Herbert. He does have a tough matchup with the Browns defense, who is a great NFL defense and has done a lot to limit opposing quarterbacks so far. But yeah, I just want to wait a week on Trey Lance if I have the option. And to me, Justin Herbert is that safe option where I can hold Trey Lance and see what he's capable of. And there's a good chance that he'll have more opportunities to start in the future. I'm not rushing to this game. The upside is probably a little higher for Lance just based on he could have 2 rushing touchdowns, but I don't think the probability is good enough to do it this week.
I like it. All right. So Chargers are playing the Browns. Raiders are playing someone that's not good. The Bears. Yeah. Chargers defense or Raiders defense? I believe Raiders have injuries to their top 2 cornerbacks. She had the Chargers defense in, and I recommended dropping them to pick up the Raiders defense against the Bears. They've had a solid pass rush. Justin Fields is known to hang in the pocket for too long. The Bears offensive line is very weak. I just have a feeling that Max Crosby and that pass rush are going to be able to notch a few sacks to give you a nice high level baseline for DST scoring compared to the Browns versus the Chargers, which could be a little bit more explosive of a matchup, even though the Chargers are probably the better defensive unit. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think the case can be made for both of them. I would probably start the Raiders over the Chargers just because Justin Fields is still working out a lot of the kinks in that offense. And Matt Nagy, I just would rather target that offensive scheme rather than the Browns, who are a ground and pound run first team. Baker Mayfield is nursing an injury, torn something in his opposite throwing arm, like opposite to his throwing arm. His left shoulder, I think, has an injury. So it has affected his throwing lately, but I think the Browns are just going to run the ball even more, and they're very, very good at it. So I'm not really looking for a lot of turnover opportunities in that game, but I think the Raiders could have 2 to 3. The Chargers probably don't have opportunity for more than 1.
That's what I told her. Is like the Browns could just run, like the Chargers may win and keep the points down low, but the Browns are probably just going to run all over them.
Yeah.
And, won't be a lot of opportunity there. All right. We got a question in the chat. Question in the chats always take precedence over questions that are submitted beforehand. Mike Will or AJ Brown?
Ooh, that's a very good question. So AJ Brown is healthy this week. The Titans are playing the Jaguars. Mike Will has a tough matchup, like we just said, against the Browns. To me, it's AJ Brown time. I think, Titans are hungry.
Yeah.
AJ Brown's healthy. He's a baller when he's on the field. I'm not going to overthink this, although it is hard because you're kind of emotionally invested in Mike Williams now. If you've drafted him, he just has outperformed his draft position vastly. He did have a low week class.
He showed us his floor, though, and it's like, look, this is what we've seen before from Mike Williams. Now let's see what we've seen before from AJ Brown.
Exactly. So I think, the start your studs mentality comes in here. AJ Brown is an NFL stud, and they're looking to, have a good win against a terrible Jaguars team who is, filled with turmoil this week in the media. I think it's an easy AJ Brown there for me.
Yeah, I think Tannehill and AJ Brown are probably both frustrated with how the season is going, and they're going to be out for blood. All right, this is the last of my friend Shen's lineup. This is the toughest one. So she had Robert Tonyan in. I asked her for a pick of the waiver wire. She sent me the waiver wire. And I said to start Seals Jones over Tonyan.
Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, for me, I'd probably go Tonyan.
Okay.
I don't love it, but I don't know. I want to see how involved Seals Jones is in the pass game.
4 targets last week, 93% of the snaps.
That is pretty good. So I think they probably have a similar floor, which is, 3 or 4 targets and then not much else. But yeah, Robert Tonyan probably is on the field a touch less if I had to guess, but I think his
snap percentage, but 1 reception for 6 yards, 2 receptions for 8 yards. The floor here,
I know,
abysmal.
That's fair. I think with Tonyan, you have higher touchdown upside. Maybe you have a better floor with Ricky Seals Jones, but I don't know. If you're in that kind of conversation, you're kind of just throwing a dart at a wall with your eyes closed. So good luck. I hope you pick the right one. To me, I would lean Tonyan with Aaron Rodgers for me.
Okay. All right. That's the last of those questions. I have some personal lineup questions if you want to get into those, or I know our good friend Alex B has sent some of his own in as well.
Sure. Let's hear one from you, and then I'll pivot to our good friend Alex B.
Okay. I'll just kind of go. I have them in almost every league I'm in. Miles Sanders or Elijah Mitchell?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. Because if Elijah Mitchell gets the tap on the butt and gets all the touches, he's going to be great. But the same thing can be said about Miles Sanders. And we just haven't seen the Eagles really focus on him enough. And they could be playing from a deficit, which would put Kenny Gainwell on the field more as their third down rookie running back. He looks pretty good when he's on the field. So truly, if you're willing to gamble in Kyle Shanahan's run scheme and say that this is an Elijah Mitchell week, he probably has the higher ceiling. So that's where I would go.
I am leaning towards Mitchell. The thing about Miles Sanders is he only needs 15 touches to be an RB2. He's a very efficient running back. Mm-hmm. He's getting like 7 touches. Like he's not
right. That's the problem.
Just the minimum, which is already lower than you would want to see from your back. So I am leaning starting Mitchell over Sanders, which is wild because I know I had the 49ers running back group as a sit just a few days ago. What's one from Alex before I move on to my next one here?
All right. He says, I picked up Damien Williams, running back for the Chicago Bears. Should I drop Montgomery if I'm super tight in my bench? Absolutely not.
What?
Your bench might be tight, but let me tell you, you will never find a running back like David Montgomery to supplant anyone else on your bench. Like, I don't know who you might have on your bench in that league, but let's even say it's like a Cordero Patterson. Like, you kind of need David Montgomery. He just has a large role in that offense. He's great when he's healthy.
He's supposed to miss 3 or 4 games. I don't believe he's missing much of the season.
Yeah, I believe it will be 4 games. So you have this week and 3 more. You definitely have to stash him. Get rid of your 4th wide receiver. Get rid of your 4th or 3rd running back. Yeah, you got to hold him. Absolutely.
It's a long season. Wins can come at the end as well as the beginning. Yeah, you got to hold on to Demont. All right, so here's one of mine that's pretty tough. Joe Mixon is playing today.
He is.
Not great news, I think, from a fantasy perspective. I think a lot of us would have preferred that they just went with P. Ryan, let Mixon rest up and not have to deal with this weird not full snap count situation. So I have Samaje P. Ryan. I have Joe Mixon, and I have Javonte Williams as another option. Which of these three guys are you starting? I feel like I kind of have to start Mixon for what we've mentioned before, like the no regrets mindset, start your studs. But geez, this is not a favorable position to be in.
Yeah, so I will admit I'm in the same exact position in one of my leagues. I have Joe Mixon, and I picked up Samaje P. Ryan on waivers this week. And then my depth behind that is Myles Gaskin. So for me, I just have to hope that Joe Mixon is healthy enough to get the workload. And you have Javonte Williams against Pittsburgh, phenomenal run defense. He's going to split with Melvin Gordon. So to me, I think we have to start Joe Mixon in these respective situations. And I don't feel bad about it. Like you said, you just got to hope that the injury is going to bite you if it happens, but I don't want to play any other way. I have to go with Joe Mixon because he's going to get the first looks as long as he's healthy enough to keep getting them.
I like it. And since it's the same league, Bryan Edwards or Kadarius Toney. I think I'm going to start Kadarius Toney no matter what, but I'm interested to hear your take.
I would absolutely go Kadarius Toney. We've talked about this, I think, the whole week on the podcast. Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard are out. Kenny Golladay, I believe, is active, but he has been banged up all week in practice. And for me, Kadarius Toney is going to get, 8 touches this game. Like, he's going to have a lot of work his way. He showed that he has the talent in the NFL to succeed last week, and Saquon Barkley and him are going to be heavily involved in the short yardage game. And then beyond that, it'll be some Kenny Golladay downfield.
Smart. Shout out Debbie showing some love in the chat. Moms are the best. And then we got a fun parlay from Jacob. Derrick Henry plus 2 touchdowns. Damien Harris over 69.5 rushing yards. Kenny Gainwell over 2.5 receptions plus 1,000.
Oh wow!
Sheesh.
Honestly, I like it.
Yeah, let me Venmo you right now, Jay. Derrick Henry plus 2 touchdowns is the hardest thing here to hit.
It is, and I still feel good about it. Just the matchup they're in against the Jaguars, who have struggled against the run. Derrick Henry is getting 30 plus touches a game. Like, he can take 2 of them to the house from any point on the field. Like, the Jaguars, if you've been following the NFL for the past 4 years, are the one he had just one of the career runs against the Jaguars for like 90 yards, breaking 8 tackles. Like, I'm sure you've seen it by now. If not, please look it up. And he did it again, I believe, like 2 years later against the Jaguars. He's just so good. I don't know. I love this parlay, Jacob. Good call.
Yeah, Kenny Gainwell, 2.5 receptions. There's already like the headlines. Is Kenny Gainwell replacing him as a running back? What is Kenny Gainwell's reception count to date? That's what we need to see. What are his receptions per game?
I would guess it averages around 3, so that's probably a great line.
Yeah, it looks like, okay, those are his rushing, receiving, 6. Okay, so it's trending up. He had 2 against the Falcons, 2 against the Niners, 3 against Dallas, and then 6 against Kansas City. Okay. I think that he's heating up to realizing what he can do. That could be a disappointing one too, but I think, throwing $10 on that is a good time.
Oh yeah, that's potentially what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, I will.
All right, another question from Alex B. If we would like to do that, he says, with Judy coming back soon, should I try and sell high on Sutton? If so, who should I expect to trade for him? I would absolutely recommend to sell high on Courtney Sutton while Judy is out. If you're waiting for him to come back, Judy will be great when he's healthy again. I believe we only have 2 to 4 more weeks, depending on his recovery timeline. And Sutton is...
Well, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, Sutton is a guy that will struggle in some games, but he has enough of the target share to feel comfortable as a starter, and a lot of people will see him as a plug-and-play starter, even when Judy comes back. So the question to me is, who would you get back for him?
Right. Like, selling high, can you even sell high on him at this point? He's going to have a rough game today, and we'll get into some more start sits. Courtney Sutton is in the mix for me. He rolled his ankle before practice. They're playing a tough defense. Mm-hmm. And somewhat, I think Teddy Bridgewater's fine As far as I can tell, it was a
concussion. Yeah, he's coming back. Yeah.
He's like not hobbled or anything, but he is coming off injury. Concerns about Courtland Sutton. So if you're going to move him, if you can do it in the next hour, because I'm sure by next week we're going to get like, Jerry Jeudy's nearing return to practice headlines. And, we could be looking at a pretty bad game from Courtland Sutton coming up. Real quick, Jacob, just throw it out in the chat. Are you placing that parlay? I don't know. We're on a bit of a delay, I'm sure. So that question will get here, or that answer will get here in time. So yeah, I like that. All right, let's move into some more start sit questions here. Let's see. I don't think I have any in this league. Okay, well, Darnell Mooney or Elijah Mitchell, rather. Excuse me. Elijah Moore's playing right now and not well. Or Rondale Moore. That's what I meant to say.
Okay, so what is the actual?
It's Mooney, Mitchell, or Moore.
Okay. Man, it's so hard to start Mooney with what we've seen from the Chicago offense, but I think I have to go there.
Okay.
I just think he'll have much more of the target share than Rondale Moore will, but Rondale Moore has, home run ability on every single touch. But I just feel a lot more confident about the role on the offense by Mooney. He's almost emerging into the wide receiver one. And I think a lot of defenses who play the Bears are trying to blanket Allen Robinson as much as they can, put their best corner on him and make them beat them through the air. So I think Mooney will have 6 to 8 targets this game. And I feel much better about that than potentially 3 targets for Rondale Moore on the whole game. I don't know. I would rather play the volume there. And I don't know, Elijah Mitchell, like we said, hopefully he gets all the touches, but I do feel more confident somehow in Darnell Mooney's workload than Elijah Mitchell.
All right, and that's who I will be starting. Any other queries on your end before I look up my next one here?
I do. It's a rough situation I'm in a league. So let me see where it is real quick. So I have Damien Williams, who I picked up as well on waivers. Would you be starting Damien Williams or in your flex spot, or someone like Robbie Anderson, who plays Philly, or Emmanuel Sanders, who plays Kansas City, or even Kadarius Toney? Would you go Kadarius Toney over Damien Williams this week?
I think you know who I'm going to say, and it's Emmanuel Sanders.
Okay.
Because they're going to be in a shootout with the Chiefs. There's a connection with Allen. In terms of ceiling, I think Sanders is the best play there. But I think Damien Williams is a good start this week.
Okay, I would agree, and I respect that take. It is full PPR, so I think you're right. I might lean wide receiver there just because of that. So,
yeah, good call. I'm not like hesitant to start Williams, but I think Sanders is probably the bigger upside call. All right, I've got a tough one for you. Man, this is rough. Okay, so Mixon is announced that he's active. This is a league where my running backs are Zeke and David Montgomery. David Montgomery is obviously out. So I have the second running back spot. And my 3 options are Samaje Perine, who is now irrelevant, Myles Gaskin, and Tony Pollard. And then in that case, I would be starting both Pollard and Zeke against the Giants, which could be a power move.
Oof. Honestly, yeah, I don't know if I would do that myself. I would feel good about Zeke over what?
Well, like I have to start Zeke, but like
yeah. So
my other options are Gaskin against Tampa Bay,
terrible,
and Perine against in a timeshare with Joe Mixon.
Yeah, when you give me that whole conversation, it's probably Pollard. Yeah, that's not normally a strategy I'd recommend, and I think in this case I would go for it. Yeah, he'll probably have just as much work as Gaskin or Perine, and it's a better offense. I would just lean that.
Okay, yeah, and I'm just checking the waiver wire just to be sure. My other options are David Johnson and Brandon Bolden. It looks to be the top options on the waiver wire, and I do not see myself starting any of those. So yeah, tough league.
In the chat, Jacob says, all right, fellas, we're going to go get some In-N-Out. Best of luck in football this weekend. Thank you. I'm jealous of your In-N-Out expedition there. Bring me some back, just mail it, please.
And, Jacob, you've probably already left, but I did Venmo you for that parlay, so I'd love to get in on that. All right, we got a question from Blake. Shout out Blake in the chat. Will Juju continue to suck? Should I drop? The thing about Juju is he's a perfectly capable wide receiver. He's just on what's got to be one of the most depressing offenses in the league. What's weird to me is that with like the prevalence of short targets, that Juju isn't getting more work out of the slot in that offense. But I don't know if he's droppable yet.
Yeah, he's borderline droppable. It's a tough call because I don't know. I don't truly know what to say here. I think, let's say you have, I don't know, he's the worst one on your roster and you really want to pick someone with upside on the waiver, then yeah, I would say you can drop him. I believe you're talking about a full PPR league here, so there are a lot more wide receivers who become relevant in that case. So like the replaceability of Juju would be, you could find that week to week, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If you have to have a pinch start at wide receiver and Juju is really just in that flex conversation, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 conversation right now until the Ben Roethlisberger led Steelers offense can really get something going.
So can I give you a hot take here on why he might not be droppable?
Sure.
So almost signed with the Chiefs in the offseason. Packers could probably use a wide receiver. I think we're looking at a team that could be sellers at the trade deadline, and I think Juju Smith-Schuster is a top trade asset when we look at the team. He's on a 1-year deal. He's a capable wide receiver. The team can get 8 games out of him and then assess where they want to go from there. He's on a cheap contract. So in terms of like talented players that are out there that you you might be holding someone on your bench that you're just like Rashad Bateman that you're just hoping is going to become relevant. And I feel like if you've got the bench space, then it might be worth holding Juju just up until the trade deadline to see what's going on there. That's my take there.
That's an interesting perspective. I hadn't really considered that. I like that idea. So yeah, don't drop Juju just to drop him because you're mad. Spite dropping is never a good idea. But if you do need that space and you have to, put somebody on your roster who you might be starting up until game time, then it's fine. Don't drop him just to drop him. He is on the field a lot. So yeah, good call.
Okay, more lineup help, Dane. This is the same league where I'm having to start Pollard and Zeke. All right, so my wide receivers that I'm currently starting are a trio of Courtney Sutton, Antonio Brown, and T. Higgins. On my bench available are Henry Ruggs, Rashad Bateman, which I will not be starting in his first start, and Kadarius Toney. Do I have the best 3? I'm very concerned about Courtney Sutton this week.
I think I would go Kadarius Toney over Courtney Sutton. I benched Courtney Sutton in one of my leagues. I'll have to double check who it was for. I think Jacoby Myers I'm starting over Courtney Sutton. So I think Kadarius Toney is going to be very involved in this week's offense for the Giants. And I want to be on this Kadarius Toney hype train while it takes off from the station, because we saw, we heard the horn last week. Now the train's starting to gear up and you were moving, and I want to be on that first ticket in the luxury cabin, so to speak, because I think when we're talking about waiver wires next week, Kadarius Toney will be a must add. So I want to be there when it takes off.
All right. Yeah, that's a tough start for me to make, sitting Courtney Sutton with Jerry Jeudy out, with KJ Hamler out.
It's a close call. I wouldn't fault anyone for. I'm just telling you how I feel about it.
Bridgewater is playing. It's
more of an emotional thing for me.
Yeah. I might have to think about that one a little bit more. It's tough to sit Sutton with Bridgewater playing. If Locke was playing, I would certainly be sitting him. But he's also coming off the rolled ankle, giving it a go. Yeah, you know what? Scared money don't make money. We're swapping Kadarius Toney. Could be a huge mistake. Never like to bet on the Giants, but this is a league where you got to take big swings and hope it pans out. All right. Any other queries you got on your end?
Kyle Pitts did just catch like a 40-yard bomb down the field. He's looking great today. That's maybe something we should mention. He's definitely coming through for your roster. You were probably pretty down on him up until this point. He's been getting work on the field, but nothing spectacular. He has his first NFL touchdown today, and I don't know what his stat line is. I'll check while I, pause here for a second. But he's looking very, very good. He has a one-handed catch already. It looks like he's 8 for 115 and a touchdown. So he's having a monster game.
Yeah, he's having a day now. Calvin Ridley's out, it bears mentioning. Russell Gage is out, it bears mentioning.
Yeah.
The question to me is, when guys like these have monster days, is like, why haven't they always been having monster days? if that makes sense. Like, why did it take all these people being out for Kyle Pitts to show us what he could do?
That's a very good point. I think a lot of it just had to do with the overall slow start by the Falcons offense. Arthur Smith is, adjusting his game plan. Kyle Pitts with another reception while we're talking for 5 yards. He's getting every look this drive. It's crazy. I do think it was just like a slow start overall for the Falcons offense. Some growing pains, whether that's the team learning the offense or Arthur Smith learning how to use his offense here. But I feel so much better going forward with him. I would not recommend selling high on a good game. I would recommend holding him and playing him every week. This is probably something we'll see more of.
Absolutely. All right. So since we're, talking about football and things that have happened in football, what are you doing with players like Tyler Lockett or Dk Metcalf?
I definitely am holding them. If somebody wants to overpay for Dk Metcalf, I'm willing to think about it. I'm not saying they're untradeable, especially Tyler Lockett, but I do think that they'll have great games. But now you have the whole quarterback concern. So it's like you probably have a 6 week to 8 week stretch where Russell Wilson will not be the quarterback. It will be Geno Smith. So, of course, their trade value goes down. You might just have to weather the storm. As far as who you'd start over them, that's a very tough conversation to have right now. But I think you got to hold them because you probably don't have a lot of suitors for trades right now.
Yeah, there's a mindset that I've seen that when Geno Smith came into the game, and to be honest, he did not look bad.
I thought he looked great, far as a backup quarterback coming in.
Yeah, and that happens a lot. The backup will come in and look great because the offense is prepared or the defense is prepared for one quarterback, and then the new quarterback is just giving them a slightly different look. And then when they have time to prepare from him, he looks worse the next game. But Geno Smith is a capable NFL quarterback. And there was an interesting discussion that I heard on on a podcast that was talking about Geno Smith had a few starts, did not look terrible. And they were they had actual comparisons, but one of the best was Brock Osweiler's passer QBR was significantly lower than Geno Smith's. Yeah. And before Brock Osweiler got that ridiculous contract from Houston. So it's Geno Smith might not have been given a fair shake in the league. There was all that drama with the Jets, him getting his jaw getting broken. And then, there's obviously, I believe, probably a racial element to that as well. We know how the league works there. So I do think that Geno Smith could be a capable general of this offense.
Yeah, I think we'll see him behave very similar to Teddy Bridgewater, maybe with a bit less efficiency, but he looked very good. So I'm not selling out. I'm not panicking, but obviously both Lockett and DK, their ceilings go down without Russ as the quarterback. He's just, he's a baller. We know he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Geno Smith obviously is not that, but like we're saying, he's a serviceable backup who you can probably still rely on your assets for fantasy going forward. You definitely just want to probably weather the storm is my take. Unless you're you're a 1-3 team, you're clawing your way back. If you can somehow get players who have more reliability down the stretch, maybe that's a conversation, but I think overall I would hold.
So another hot Seahawks take is the offense that they want to run is based on taking what's there in the horizontal gameplay, a lot of quick outs, a lot of West Coast action, a lot of check downs, a lot of things that Russell Wilson does not like to do. Mm-hmm. It's possible we could see a more efficient version of what they want to do, the same way players I can't even remember his name, John Wolford came in and were able to look good in the Sean McVay system. We might see something similar there where the offense may even look more efficient with someone that's not scrambling around and then attempting a moon ball, which of course Russell Wilson is great as those, and that's why he's one of the greatest quarterbacks. But there's something of a conflict between the way Russ wants to play and the way the offense wants to function. So it's going to be interesting. I'm with you. I'm definitely holding. Also, Cordero Patterson with another nice catch over the middle. What is going on with
this guy's ridiculous. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned him because I've been wanting to talk about him this whole time. 14 carries so far, 7 of 9 receptions, and over 100 yards right now. Unfortunately, he just came off the field. The Falcons are at the 9-yard line, about to score potentially, but he's just so heavily involved. I think you have to believe in his role in this offense. It's growing now. He's had more touches this game than he has in any of the games so far. He doesn't have a touchdown yet. That's the only thing holding him back. But I mean, is Cordero Patterson a top running back 2 for the rest of the year.
Cordero Patterson's like if you took Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara and they had a baby, and that baby took 8 years to gestate in the league, and then finally at age 30 started showing something. Like he's big, he's tall, but he's getting used in these all over the field situations, like, you know, this versatile running back wide receiver duo role. It's crazy. And it's also like, I think it's an underrated thing that we haven't talked about much in fantasy, about how you can slot Cordero Patterson into your running back or wide receiver slot. Like just that versatility on your team is pretty nice. Is that Mike Davis with a touchdown there?
Yeah,
unfortunately. Like there might be holding on the play.
That would be excellent. Back him up, get Cordero Patterson on the field to catch a pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's used as a receiver so much, and he looks great when he's at the point of attack, catching the ball. Like he looks like he can hold it with the rest of the top wide receivers in the NFL. Like I don't know, it's crazy. He has the skills of both, and yeah, to be able to slot him as a running back or wide receiver on your roster is a very, very good thing to do.
So Mike Davis scores a touchdown. I wonder where that puts Mike Davis for the day.
Probably salvaging his day, honestly.
50 yards and a touchdown. That puts him at like 11 points.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, he'll probably finish with 13 points, and that'll probably be his highest total of the year. And, I mean, honestly, I know a lot of people are really disappointed in Mike Davis.
Mm-hmm.
But if you took him in like the 6th or 7th round, I don't know what more you could ask for. He's getting 10 points a game. Like, there are not a lot of running backs that'll do that for you right now. So I know that Cordero Patterson has taken all the hype, but is Mike Davis like a buy low?
He might be. I think, yeah, he's somebody, if you need running back help, he's somebody I'd rather have than a lot of the other middling running back twos, because he's getting the work. He just hasn't done a whole lot with it. I think that might have been his first touchdown on the year. But yeah, like you're saying, he's kind of expected to perform this way based on where he was drafted. Like he was never going to be a world beater running back, but the work was going to be there. I don't know. If I have Mike Davis, I definitely don't feel great about it, but I don't think I can really sell him out or ship him out right now, just because, I mean, what are the other options? There's so many injuries right now. It's just, you know, you just ride with him and hopefully you can make some moves. Maybe you package him with some wide receiver to trade up if you can, but I don't know. You're probably stuck with him.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, in my mind, he's been doing terribly, like, because I don't have ownership of him anywhere, and there's always a little less visibility on those players. But yeah, I mean, 8 to 10 points a game, Lamar Miller action, like, you know, so sometimes you just got to take it. Kyle Pittsman, 9 receptions for 120 yards. That's
yeah.
If you were thinking of buying low on Kyle Pitts, that's no longer.
No. He might have the tight end 1 performance on the week potentially. Kelsey, you know, is always in that conversation, but it's hard to beat that kind of stat line. 120 passing yards, 9 receptions, touchdown. Yeah, you love to see that. It's coming through. I'll get to another question from Alex B. He says, what are your thoughts on Chris Carson moving forward? So that's a whole can of worms. You got to factor in his recurring neck problem that will probably plague him throughout the season. And now you're talking about a Seattle offense without Russell Wilson. You probably can't trade him because his value has just plummeted with that news. He missed the game. Alex Collins looked acceptable as a running back, but nothing fancy. I think when Chris Carson is healthy, you play him, but now you have to worry about how many weeks will he be healthy. So I don't know. I mean, if somebody's still high on him, then ship him out, I'd say.
Can I just read you this quote from Pete Carroll?
Yes.
I'm sure we've seen it, but let's just, you know, reemphasize this. He's got an old injury that you can see. It's kind of, I don't know if it's chronic, but it occasionally pops up. It hasn't been an issue in the past. He didn't get hurt, and that's how he got hurt. It's a condition that he probably got from weightlifting and all the stuff he's done over the years. It could have been something a long time ago. It just flared up, so we're being real careful with him. He was too uncomfortable to play. He was too uncomfortable to play, Dane.
That's interesting choice of words.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty severe. We know how these guys are. They're warriors.
Yeah.
Too uncomfortable to play is he was in extreme pain, and our painkillers couldn't do enough for him. So to me, it's extremely concerning. Maybe it is one of those things where it just needs a week of rest and he'll be fine. But if it's something that's going to flare up all season, we saw like Todd Gurley's fall from, top running back in the league to free agent in a matter of years. And Chris Carson's never been a top running back in the league. So if he has some kind of chronic neck condition, I'm pretty concerned. Like you said, Collins looked capable. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can trade him because his value is abysmal. I think you just got to hold. But big concerns for Chris Carson.
Yeah,
buy low in Dynasty, I guess. So you can offer like a late second for him or something.
Yeah, I'd be afraid to even approach him in Dynasty at this point. Like you said, what if this is the end of his career arc? Like, what if this season is his last quote unquote healthy season and, he's just a shell of himself going forward? It's hard to say for sure, but
I would not be surprised if, like, Chris Carson, what is he? He's 27 years old. That's when running backs start to give out. So, yeah, not super high on old Chris.
All right. And another question from Alex B. He says, should we start Dalvin Cook if he's a game time decision? Yes was the answer. He is out. So unfortunately, that question has faded relevance. He says, what's up with
Madison handicap?
Yeah, hopefully you did that. Yeah. And please do it if you haven't switched that out yet. You got 40 minutes. Actually, I think they play 4:00. I don't know. I don't know. Doesn't matter. What's up with Calvin Ridley? So he's out this week for personal matters. I think the question is probably more along the lines of his fantasy production. What's up with Calvin Ridley? I think, like I said, it's just probably a terrible slow start with that Falcons offense. They look better today, but unfortunately he's not on the field to reap the benefits.
And they're playing the Jets.
Yeah, I think Calvin Ridley is a perfect buy low candidate. Like, I wouldn't ship him out because his value is too low to trade right now, but you're certainly not happy because you probably took him as the 4th or 5th wide receiver off the board. He has not lived up to that in the slightest. Hopefully better days ahead in plus matchups when the Falcons have them. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, look, great buy low for me. Like, maybe this is just me, like, but as you know, I was a bit of a Arthur Smith truther over the offseason. And by extension, a Matt Ryan truther. And I thought this team was going to look a lot better than they do. But it does seem like they're slowly starting to figure some things out. And a player like Calvin Ridley is just too good to not be used. So I do think he's a great buy low candidate if you can get someone to give him up for, like, here's the thing. Like, do you think someone would trade Calvin Ridley for Brandon Cooks?
No, not at all. Just based on the name and what we perceive his role to be in that offense and what we perceive to be a better offense, whether it truly is up for debate. But I think there's a lot of attachment to the name like Calvin Ridley than there is Brandon Cooks. So for that reason, I don't think you could convince the Ridley owner. All
right, we'll go to a trade value chart, find where Brandon Cooks is, and work up to the next name from there, because Brandon Cooks has far outproduced Calvin Ridley on the season. And, opportunists might be looking into a Brandon Cooks, people that don't have either are willing to take risks based on recent production or just don't have like a, historical knowledge of how these things often slow starts often turn into hot end of season. It just happens a lot. I mean, look at Justin Jefferson last year. I dropped him within the first couple of weeks because of the preseason storylines and how bad he looked in the first couple of games, and then broke rookie records. So if you're a Calvin Ridley owner, I say don't move him. If you're not, do whatever you can take to get him, because I'm sure he'll have a rebound in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've also made some offers myself for him. Nothing panning out yet, but especially if your Calvin Ridley owner in your league is a 1-3 team, maybe a 2-3 team after this week, and maybe Calvin Ridley is still up in the air whether he's coming back next week, try to take advantage of that news cycle, get ahead of the game, and put in a good offer for him, because he is the wide receiver 1 in that offense, and now Pitts is emerging as the number 2 option there pretty clearly. I think that's what we'll project going forward. So yeah, I'd feel good about trading for Ridley right now.
Nice. So primetime game tonight, Bills Chiefs. This is a lineup question, but I'm also curious about your expectations for one of these players. So in the flex, I've got some options. I've got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I've got Miles Sanders. I've got Devontae Smith, and I've got Emmanuel Sanders. I'm leaning Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but what can we expect to see from CEH in this game tonight against a pretty staunch Buffalo Bills defense, a player that has not performed up to expectations, while he did have, as I said he would, a great game last week?
Yeah, so I would probably lean Clyde Edwards-Helaire there. It's, you probably still feel iffy about it if you're the Clyde Edwards-Helaire owner, but something that caught my eye like an hour ago or so, there was some weather report about Arrowhead Stadium being, one of the worst weather games of this week with rain heavily a factor. So that could, change within the next 7-8 hours before they play, but that's something to consider. I'll try to look up the weather forecast right now, but so if that is true, you'd think that they would go to the running game more, but honestly, it doesn't always work that way with weather. But I think that might be just a slight edge to tip your hat one way or the other there.
Nice. All right, we got a question in the chat coming in from Ryan H. Hi, guys. Who should I start in flex in standard, Pittman or Myers? I'm starting Madison and Mitchell because I have both CMC and Montgomery out. Tough stuff, brother. I know the feeling. I'm leaning Myers in this query here.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Jacoby Myers. He's getting I think an average of 12 targets between the last 2 weeks, and I don't see a reason that would change. They're playing the Texans. The over-under on the game is pretty low. I think it's 39.5. So, not going to be a high-scoring opportunity there. But I think Jacoby Myers, he has a legitimate shot at touchdown this week. He does not have a touchdown on his NFL career, and he has 130 targets or something ridiculous.
That regression
receptions.
Back, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm rooting for him this week. I am starting him over Courtney Sutton. I'm starting him over Juju Smith-Schuster in a couple leagues. So I feel good about that. And standard league, so you don't get, all the extra little points for the every reception, but Pittman is not going to have a better week than Jacoby Myers in my mind.
They're playing the Ravens. Wentz recently sprained both ankles on top of being a bad quarterback.
Yeah.
The offensive line hasn't looked good. Quentin Nelson on IR. So the Ravens could dominate against the Colts in this matchup. I know that in a lot of parlays, I took Ravens money line as my lock game. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite me. But yeah, I'm definitely with you. Pittman has been pretty disappointing as well to this point, I would say.
Yeah, he has a bit, and I thought he was doing worse than he was. I went to check his stat line a couple days ago, and I was a bit surprised that he's getting more work than I thought he was.
He's doing what every Colts receiver is doing, which is catching 6 balls for 60 yards and nothing else. The ball is getting spread around so much, which, to be honest, is usually a good thing for an NFL offense, but. No touchdowns on the season, and I think that's what's really limiting Pittman. It's a tough call. I think Myers, as you said, just because the defensive matchup is so rough for Michael Pittman.
Yeah, I would agree. Thank you very much for the question, Ryan H. Appreciate that. Good luck in your matchup this week. It does look like the Falcons will close out a victory here. 20 seconds remaining. Zach Wilson just got sacked for 20 yards, but they are in the red zone. Well, they were in the red zone.
Are they kicking a field goal right now?
I think so, and they're going to hope to get an onside kick recovery.
Oh, okay. I was like, what? Why are they doing this?
Yeah, their odds of winning the game are probably less than 3%, so probably safe to say the Falcons win this.
So I did not watch a lot of this game. I'm looking at it right now. I was mostly doing chores. Any insights? I mean, it looks like, Cordero Patterson, still dang good. Kyle Pitts coming on hot. Mike Davis, a capable RB3 flex. Okay, Ryan H says that the Pats O-line is missing 4 of 5 players. To that, I would say I cannot name one pass rusher on the Houston Texans.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, certainly not a pass rush I am scared of, but that's a very good point as far as, to me, this almost bolsters
Jacoby Myers' favor because they want to get it out quick, right? Yeah,
that's exactly what I would say. So from all these players being missing on the O-line, you can extrapolate they'll have a tougher time running the ball, and they might have to look to short yardage passing game where they try to get the ball out in under 2 seconds. And Jacoby Myers is the first read on almost every single play for Mac Jones there. I almost feel better about that. That is something I forgot to consider, so thank you for bringing that up. A legitimate concern if we're talking about Damien Harris, because he doesn't get a whole lot of passing work through the air, and his rushing work might suffer this week, especially with a low over and under point total. He might not have much scoring opportunity. For me, this almost fades the run game a little bit, and then hopefully Jacoby Myers is the benefactor there.
Would you start Miles Sanders over Damien Harris?
That's probably about where I would consider them interchangeable. Like that's a very good comparison. I do. I think I would go Damien Harris just because I don't know. I think he'll get more touches, but it's close.
Also, the Pats are just such a well coached team. Like and just the matchup that they have. Yeah, I think Damien Harris should still get decent work, but yeah, no hesitancy on Myers there. Although it is tough telling people decisions. It's a lot of power, or like I mean, not that they listen to us or anything like that, but I always feel so bad if I'm like, yeah, do this, and then it doesn't work out.
Yeah, that's fair. I think we just have to realize, we're just giving our opinion on the probabilities of everything. Of course, Pittman could have a 3-touchdown week, and we can't predict that. That's something that would be an outlier. Jacoby Myers getting 12, 15 targets is a lot more probable than Pittman getting those kind of targets. So that's where I would lean. I would just go with the workload.
All right, Olamide Zaccheaus. In leagues where you get onside kick, punt recovery points,
that doesn't exist.
Had a very good game today. Man, it was kind of funny because I was almost like toying with getting up early and looking at him as a start, and I'm glad that I didn't wake up till after 9:30 because 2 receptions for 20 yards. Looks like Zaccheaus is not going to have a good day with all the opportunity that was there for him, or a good season rather.
Yeah, as far as you asking about any takeaways from this Jets and Falcons game being held in London, I would say that there's no wide receiver capable of threatening Calvin Ridley or Kyle Pitts for their workload based on what I've seen. Christian Blake has not looked great, dropped a couple. Olamide Zaccheaus, who we were just talking about, dropped a few passes, doesn't look great. And beyond that, I forget who's even else on the field. Cordero Patterson does look for real. I think you can start him with confidence going forward. And as far as the Jets side of the ball, it's hard to say any definitive takeaway. Zach Wilson is still doing his, sketchy passes that are risky, trying to extend the play. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But he just seems to be missing all of the easy plays, and that's a problem for that whole offense going forward. I think Corey Davis went limping off the field. I didn't see if he returned. I don't believe any Jets passer has done much of anything today. And as far as running backs go, Michael Carter has a touchdown, and I believe Ty Johnson also got a touchdown.
Yeah, that Jets running back attack is depressing. It's like the Niners, if they weren't as productive, the way they split the work up,
Yeah, exactly. So if there was just one running back getting all these looks, he'd be viable for fantasy, probably as an RB2, maybe high-end RB2. But they're splitting very heavily with 3. I think I haven't, dove into the snap percentages yet, but I believe Michael Carter has the most of them. But he's probably at like a 40% snap share. So it's like not much to do with that. Like maybe it's 45, maybe it's even 50, and 50% of the work on a rough offense is not something I'm interested in. So hopefully he can work his way into it going forward.
So complete duck from Elijah Moore today. What's going on there? A lot of preseason hype. This guy, he had that AJ Brown video. We were all really high on Elijah Moore. 2 targets. He did have a 41-yard pass interference call, so he did get them some yardage, but no, didn't record any stats on the stat sheet. Very disappointing start from Mr. Elijah Moore.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things, like we said, growing pains of the offense. I don't see him being relevant until maybe the very end of this season. Somebody might be looking at going forward into next year, depending on what they do with that wide receiver room in the New York Jets team. But he's probably not rosterable in redraft.
Yeah, notable that when I believe he left the field briefly today and came back, but Mims did go in while he was out. So good from a dynasty perspective to see Denzel Mims get a little bit of work. But yeah, maybe another trade candidate in the NFL by the time the trade deadline arrives is Mr. Mims.
Yeah, fair point.
It's crazy also, the score makes the game look so much closer than it was.
Yeah, the Jets truly had one good drive on the whole game, and that's about all you can say about them at all. They did have, I think, a fumble recovery and an interception. So the best the defense has looked, really, besides what they did against the Titans last week. So, if they can get the defense to give them some advantages going forward, then maybe they'll win a game or two more. But I don't know. I don't want to really rely on any piece of that offense right now if I can avoid it.
Agreed. All right. Well, it's 12:35. We've pretty much done the whole thing. Dane, do we have any other questions before we close this thing out and take one last look at our lineups before we sit down for Football Sunday?
No more questions of note, but I will say that Devontae Parker is ruled out. So Jalen Waddle is now really the only top wide receiver on the Dolphins going into their game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, I like Waddle in this game. He probably doesn't have much of a shot at a touchdown, but honestly, he's the only Dolphin I would start besides Mike Gesicki today. Dolphins are going to have a very hard time running against the Bucs.
Yeah, if you were to have placed a bet on Jalen Waddle's over for receptions, you were probably feeling pretty good about it right now.
Yes, I am, hopefully.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone that came in, Jacob, Blake, Ryan, Debbie, the questions we got beforehand from Ashen and Alex, and anyone else that tuned in that wasn't active in the chat. We appreciate you. We'll be back here next Sunday. We'll be I won't be on the Monday show, but I think Dane will be doing something, or maybe we'll come live Tuesday. We still have to figure that out, but we'll be back next week as always. And enjoy Football Sunday.
Thanks so much, guys, and enjoy your Sunday of football. Props to you guys for joining. Thanks.
All right.